I am going to start. I secure my first stitch and we are going to knit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Iyon sa chain stitches me. I will pass this stitch chain without knitting, and in the next one I'm going to start knitting single stitch. I move on to the chain stitch that follows and use single stitch. Yes, 2, 3. I'm going to be weaving by taking only half of the chain stitch. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 10 once completed. Let's make him a chain stitch. This is my last stitch, this one I have here. And I'm going to weave solo la mitad de la chain stitch y use single stitch. Half of the chain stitch, single stitch, half chain stitch. Single stitch, and I'm going to do this until I get there. To my last stitch. The last stitch of each round will always be taken complete. This is only half of it. Yes, half of the chain stitch. Now this is my last real stitch. This one I take it completely from side to side and make a single stitch. A chain stitch. This is my last stitch. Let's take only half and knit single stitch. Single stitch y single stitch. And I will do this until I complete. So that me round single stitch. Single stitch. And here is my last stitch. I will take it from side to side. And I make single stitch. And I already did. This is my first round one. Looks a little higher is number 2, number 3. I make a chain stitch. I take only half and I start again. At the beginning is taken only half of the chain stitch, and at the last one, the complete stitch, half, single stitch, half chain stitch. Single stitch, half chain stitch, single stitch. I'm about to reach the end, friends. And here at the last stitch, we take it in full. Well, this process that we have just done is the process that we will be weaving round after round until obtaining the love we need. And this is how it will look like. So the only requirement here, my friends, is that the last stitch is going to be taken in full. So this last complete, and you are single stitch. I'm going to advance a few rounds and come back. I want to show you, friends, and what I have had a total advantage of. Let's see how many rounds, or rather the centimeters that I have left bind, are approximately 2070. And let's see how many there are. The centimeters we need to have at home. For newborns, we will have approximately 32 to 30 and 4 centimeters in diameter. When we are going to measure the elastic is important. We'll stretch it and put it on the little head of the person you are going to give it to knitting, so that you can decide whether this is the right measure. Yes, in case you do not have the person around. Don't worry, friend. We have to stretch our elastic a little bit, don't we? Not so much so that it is not so tight, but it is necessary to stretch gently so that the elastic can perform its function and you can measure it. Yes, then. For newborns, we will need 32 to 30 and 4 centimeters. From 3 to 6 months, from 34 to 40 centimeters, and if you need to know it in rounds, I have already measured it. It would be 54 rounds for newborns from 3 to 6 months of age. 58 rounds of 3 to 6 months. From 6 to 12 months, from 41 to 40 and 5 centimeter breasts. And it would be 66 rounds. 1 to 3 years old would be 45 to 40 and 8 centimeter in diameter. And it would be 72 rounds. For 4 to 10 years, 48 cm to 50 cm in diameter, and it would be 84 rounds. Which is the one I'm going to make in this case, and for adolescents would be 53 cm in diameter, which would be 86 rounds. For the ladies are 54 centimeters with 80 rounds, and for the 54 side championships, 56 of snow, that would give us 90 rounds in total. Let's see how we are going to identify our rounds. This one I have here, friends, is round number 1. This one is seen here as raised. In relief is round number 2. Here in the middle, the 3, the relief. 4.5, 5 in relief, 6 in the middle. And so we will count down every edge. Counts as 1, and each space down here counts as a stitch, which is the equivalent of a round. Now I already made a chain stitch to close. I'm going to take, and I'm going to drink from here from that first space. On the other side, and I make a stitch. So a slip stitch, I'm going to go from side to side, and I slip stitch, from side to side, slip stitch, and so I will be weaving from side to side, and I slide. This is the last stitch. I show you how it will look like. Yes, then if they realize, it remains as if it were a relief more like these. On the other side, this is how it would look on us. Then what am I going to do? Let's make him a chain stitch. And in this last slip stitch, we did stitch chain removal. I leave my first single stitch. Here between one relief and another, here is a space. And let's knit him a single stitch. Here you can see another space. Single stitch here in the middle. Between one motif and another, there is a space. Single stitch embossed here. Single stitch, and look at friends. This way it will be very easy. If they do reach to see at home, here you can see where the single stitch will go. Once we have finished the round, I'm going to make the union here where I have this first stitch. I'm going to do the color change. Here I close. Con one slip stitch. In this case, I make a chain stitch. And in this same space, I'm going to lose this little piece of wool. No need to cut the white color, my friends. We are going to leave this one here, pendangora. I'm going to pass by and pick up a stitch. I take a loop. I lift. A second stitch, loop, and I lift a third stitch myself. Closure assure. I am going to spend this space without knitting, and in the one next, I raise a loop. 2 lazada. 3 I close and assure, yes. And I'm going to pass a stitch without knitting. And in the next stitch, I lift 1. Lazada. 2 loop 3. I close and ensure. And I will continue. I pass this space without weaving, and in which it follows. I raise 1 loop 2. Loop 3. I close for sure. Once my round is over, I am going to make the closure. Here, look, friends. Every poof or every stitch will have 2 spaces or 2 chain stitches. I am going to drink here, in this first chain stitch or in this first stitch. And I'm going to do the color change. To close with a slip stitch, I make a chain stitch. And in this space, I will be weaving single stitch. I'm going to move on to this next stitch. Look here, you can see the chain stitch. EU single stitch. I'm going to move on here to the next one. Single stitch. Next stitch. Single stitch, and so on. I will continue by every stitch or for every space that can be seen here. I'm going to weave a single stitch until the end of my entire round. Once my round is over, I'm going to make the union and I'm going to make the color change. We change the color. I make a chain stitch, and from this very space, I will lift 1 lazada 2, loop 3. I close and secure. I'm going to stop by a space without weaving, and in which one follows lazada 2, loop 3. I close and secure. Stitch step without knitting, and in the next one I repeat 1, 2, 3, close and assure no. I took some measurements here. I'm going to show you. Let's do the following. Let's knit him. For newborns, 11C, and we begin to decrease. From 3 to 6 months, we will knit. 13 cm, we begin to decrease. From 6 to 12 months, 14T, and we start with the decreases. From 1 to 3 years, 15 cm, and we begin to decrease. From 4 to 10 years, 17 cm, and we start with the decreases. For adolescents, let's leave 20 cm and start to decrease. For the ladies, we are going to leave 21 cm, and we start with the decreases. And for the Argentines, we are going to knit, or we will knit 22 cm and start to decrease. Once we have the length we need, in this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 rounds of colors. Let's do the following. I make a chain stitch, and I'm going to pass in this case. Here in this space, and I do my single stitch. I'm going to stop by, and I'm just going to weave friends. These spaces that are marked here, I make single stitch. I passed a stitch without knitting, and in this space, single stitch, stitch step without knitting, and over this single stitch space. At the end of my round, I am going to make the union. I make the color change. And here we arrange. I make a chain stitch, and in this case, friends, yes, we are going to do as appropriate. Here, I passed a stitch without knitting, and the one next, 1, 2, 3. I close and ensure. I passed a stitch without knitting, and the one next, 1, 2, 3. I close and ensure. Once my round is over, we are going to do the closing and our color change. And we will repeat the same process, friends. Then last time to reduce. Here I make a single stitch. And then I'm going to pass this stitch without knitting. Look at this one I pass without knitting. And here is where this space is made. Single stitch step, and where the single stitch space is made. Step, and where space is made, single stitch. And once my round is over, friends, we are going to do here. Again, the color change, and we do another round as appropriate. We make a stitch chain, and then we start. From the first stitch, make our stitch. Closure assure. I passed a stitch without knitting, and in the one that follows, 1, 2, 3, closure and insurance. Step, and in the one that follows, I repeat. Yes, good. I am going to do this until the end. My whole round. Once my round is over, friends, we will still make the union, and we will repeat same decrease process at this moment, because at least what we have left is we are not going to do another round colored. Then look, I'm going to stop by, and here at this next stitch, I'm going to take this stitch. I'm going to make a chain stitch, loose a little, you retreat, to look like a lump here in this part. And we can no longer escape, and we can continue. Then I'm going to move here to this space. Remember that it was nothing more about the spaces, stitch step, and over the single stitch space. Stitch step and over the single stitch space. And at the same time, I'm losing this little piece of wool that I have left. Let's join with a slip stitch. I make a chain stitch. And I'm going to leave a little bit. I'm going to stop by, and those are the spaces I have left. I'm going to take, friends, this part of the middle of the chain stitch, half of the chain stitch, and I close half of the chain stitch. I close half of the chain stitch and close until completing to 2 stitches. Once we have given the whole round, we will close like this. Taut 2 stitches, look. We pull it, and they are already siratwu. And on the inside side, we may lose this little piece of material, and this is how it will look like. It's already well closed, my friends. And in this part, we just lost the little piece of wool. And we decide here in this part whether we place a pom-pom on it or leave it like this. That's where you decide, I am going to show you what it looks like with and without pom-pom. Is going well. Now yes, this is how it turned out. The final result, look at. What do you think? And here, as I am telling you, we can use a pom-pom. I'm going to show you, yes, what it looks like. With this, I say goodbye as usual. I really hope you liked it. If you liked it, support me by sharing on your social networks, with your relatives, with your friends, and to Facebook groups, and see you in the following video. And many, but thank you very much for joining me today.